Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is my last morning in South Africa, and it is now time for me to pack up my stuff and start on a day of traveling back home. I am having some of my anxiety going on today, so I thought I would take you along for the ride and show you what it's like to travel with anxiety and some of the things that I do to cope. First step to reducing anxiety when traveling is to check in ahead of time wherever you can. So I've already checked in, my seats have been pre-selected, so I know that I've got my boarding passes, I know where I'm sitting on all of my flights. So I've gotten changed into something to wear for the day. This is not what I will be traveling in. I'm going to change into my travel clothes. Right before I leave, I'll take a shower and get changed, but this is just the clothing that I'm going to wear while I'm getting everything ready. It's still a few hours before I have to leave. Next, it's on to the packing. Now, yesterday I already took all of my stuff that I'm going to pack and I laid it out in one place along with my bags. So all I've got to do now is actually pack it. The only stuff that is not with the rest of my stuff that's getting packed is the things that I am going to be using throughout the rest of the day. So these cups, I drink a lot of water, so I always have to have my cups. I'll pack them right before I leave. The clothes that I'm going to wear, makeup, toiletries for when I take a shower before I leave. Of course, the trusty old hairbrush. It is now about 2 hours before I leave the house. All my packing is done. My checked baggage is done. I've taken a shower, changed into what I'm actually going to wear on the airplane. And all I've got to pack now into my carry-on is my hairbrush and makeup and just like some stuff that I'll still be using before I leave. But I'm pretty much good to go and anxiety is in check. Okay, we are at the airport. Had a little bit of a glitch leaving my mom's house. She's got this one dog who goes flying out the gate and down the road the second the gate opens. So we had to corral the dog and we got her in, and then she got out through a window just as the Uber driver was about to arrive, and it was a whole thing of having to catch the dog, and it was all good. I got to the airport about 3 hours before my flight, which is later than I like. I like to get here a lot earlier. I got one of my bags wrapped because there's some damage to the suitcase, and I checked in, and I am now going to go through security, get through passport control, and then I'll have a bit of breathing time. Okay, we are through security, we are through passport control. I am on the other side. Just going to find my gate, but I've got a fair bit of time before boarding begins. So I am now in a quiet spot. This is where I just take a minute to decompress because I'm feeling a little fraught. So I'm going to just take a minute to just settle down and then be on my way to the gate. Okay, we are at the gate. Really crowded. I think the flight is going to be pretty full. So hopefully it won't be too bad. So we finally made it onto the plane. I'm really happy with my seat. Nice window seat. Flight is full, but that's okay. So I have made it to Paris. I am making my way to the next gate. I've gotten through security and passport control. It's really early in the morning, so that wasn't any kind of an issue. Not a lot of people about at this time of the day. And I've now got to find out where my next gate is and make my way over there. I'll tell you about the flight in a second. It was interesting. But yeah, Paris airport is just ridiculously huge. Okay, I found my boarding gate, and more importantly, I have found a place to have coffee. So I'm having a cappuccino and one of these raisin things. So my story about the flight, the boarding gate in Johannesburg was really strange. It was not like the usual boarding gates where you kind of go off the beaten track and into a dedicated seating area for that boarding gate. It was kind of like in the middle of a through pathway thing. There was hardly any seating there. So it was just very crowded. The way it was structured was really, really crowded. And when we boarded the plane, we had to go through this long sort of series of corridors before we even got to the jetway. And so the pedestrian traffic there kept getting congested, and then the jetway was getting congested. And just boarding was very, very fraught. It was, just this crush of people around me all the time, and so I struggled with that. But then I got settled on the plane. I was in a window seat. The two other people in the row were traveling together. They were very nice. The flight started off well enough, and I really liked my seat. It was comfortable and had a nice view of everything, and so it was all good. The flight started off fine. They served the meal. The meal was, it was an airplane meal, but it was fine. And then I watched a movie, very nice movie. I had seen it on the entertainment systems flying out to South Africa. And when I told my mom that it was on the entertainment system, she said, "Oh, if it's still there when you fly back, you have to watch this movie. It's wonderful." And so I watched it, and I'm so glad I did. Wonderful movie. It was called A Man Called Otto, and it stars Tom Hanks. If you get a chance to see it, definitely do. Anyway, I watched the movie, and right as the movie ends, the cabin crew are clearing up all the stuff from dinner, and they dim the lights, and okay, so now I'm going to try and go to sleep. So I get out my pillow and I settle into sleep, and I've got my airplane supplied blanket, and I'm nice and comfy, and I settle back and I close my eyes. And then I get this wave of anxiety just hitting me from nowhere. So I'm taking deep breaths, deep breaths, deep breaths. And then I start to feel a little bit flush, like I'm having a hot flash, which cannot be happening because I'm postmenopausal at this stage. But I just have this heat going through my entire body, and it felt so uncomfortable. I have no idea what it was. I don't know if it was related to the anxiety or not. But, I took off the pillow, I took off the blanket, because it was just making me too hot. And then gradually I sort of start to cool down a little bit. Eventually I fell asleep, and when I woke up I was feeling absolutely fine. So I don't know how much sleep I actually got. I do feel really tired right now. And I've still got the flight to Amsterdam coming up, and then the flight from Amsterdam to Toronto. So that's where I'm at now. But here in Paris Airport, it's fine. It's not as crowded as I've seen Paris Airport. So it didn't take me long to get through all the things I had to get through. And I am comfortably at my gate with tons of time to spare. So I'm eating my raisin bun thing and drinking my cappuccino. And I'll check in with you guys from Amsterdam. We made it to Amsterdam. This trip is so weird. So many unexpected things are happening. So while I was waiting for my Amsterdam flight, sitting there waiting at the gate, I randomly run into a friend who lives in South Africa, and she just happens to be traveling to Amsterdam. The boarding for the Amsterdam flight was then delayed, so we decided to just go have a coffee at this coffee shop that's right by the gate. We spent a little bit too long there. We go back to the boarding gate. We thought we were on time though. They said boarding was delayed by an hour, so we went back like 45 minutes later, and as we're walking to the gate, we hear both of our names being called on the announcement system, like you know, please go and board your flight right away. So we're like rushing to the boarding gate, feeling really bad that we are now delaying the flight. And this is, I don't travel this way. This is not what I do. But then it turned out to be fine because we get into the plane and the takeoff was still delayed. They only wanted everyone boarded so that they would be able to move the plane as soon as they got word from Amsterdam that they could move the plane. So we sat in the plane for like 45 minutes after we boarded anyway. But yeah, that was the story of flying from Paris to Amsterdam. The flight itself was fine, a little bit bumpy because the weather in Amsterdam is kind of sketchy right now. And the flight to Toronto is now delayed, but you know, just by an hour or so. So we're getting there. I am almost home. I am so tired. I have about an hour before I board, trying to decide if I want to get coffee or not. I don't know. I loaded up on coffee pretty well in Paris. And I did buy a bottle of water so I could take my medication. So I probably don't need anything more. I think I'm just going to have a wander around because I'm going to be sitting on my ass for the next 7 to 8 hours. I made it. I'm home. Well, I am home. I look like absolute hell. I am very tired, but my arrival back in Canada was, you know, pretty smooth. It was all good. My flight landed like an hour and a half after it was scheduled to, because there were all kinds of delays leaving, well, first getting to Amsterdam and then leaving Amsterdam. And then arriving in Canada, you have to do this passport declaration using these machines where you scan your passport and then you answer a bunch of questions about, you know, are you bringing in any like fresh vegetables or whatever into the country, and are you exceeding your tobacco and alcohol limits and all that kind of stuff. And what I've always done in the past is I've gone to these machines all the way at where the passport control area is, but they've put some of these machines along the passageways before that, and I used one of those machines and it was so much better. It was way quicker. Definitely highly recommend that. Don't wait until you get to the passport control area. Use the machines, you know, the first machines that you see getting off the plane, use them. It saves you a bunch of time and aggravation. I brought in some cheese that I got from Amsterdam and I declared it. They don't have limits as to how much you can bring. They just want you to declare that you have it. They don't really care how much you have. And, you know, that was fine. I didn't even get my bags looked at or anything. Baggage claim in Toronto tends to be a little bit on the slow side. So that took a while, but, you know, my bags made it. So, you know, I'm glad about that. Passport control, quick. Everything was fine. And then I walked into my house and I discovered that my kitchen has been redone. I've got a new kitchen floor. I've got a new fridge. I've got a new stove. I've got a new range hood. The whole thing's been cleaned up and redone. I've got a new, like a metal backsplash thing by the stove. So, you know, if the stove spits up grease while you're cooking, it's super easy to wipe down and clean. It looks so nice. It looks really, really nice. My family worked so hard to put that together. It was a lovely surprise. So now I am going to unpack just enough stuff to charge my phone and take a shower. I really need to wash the day of travel off of me. And then I am going to have a rest because I am just feeling blah. But yeah, that concludes my journey of 2023. It has been absolutely wonderful. I had so many good times. I'm sad that it's over. But, you know, on the upside, I can start planning when I can do this again. So, see you guys again soon. Bye.